Hey everybody, welcome to Trading Capital's daily live stream of the market open. Today is currently April 4th, and as we kick off the new trading sessions, the spiders are gapping up today. That is a tremendous amount of gap ups in a row on this S&P. In my mind, it is unsustainable when you have this many gap ups in a row. So to think we have one gap up today, we had one yesterday which was filled. So we have one, we have two, we have three, we have four major gaps in this trend that have been unfulfilled. And when you look at this rally, it's all happened really on light volume. You are into major resistance on the Qs, on the S&P, markets are extended. Especially what has carried this market higher is the mega caps. Nvidia, Apple, Microsoft, Google, Amazon, Meta, Tesla. They are all extended and into resistance, especially Apple, especially Microsoft, and especially Nvidia. The three behemoths are into major resistance. So will we get downside today? Maybe, maybe not. Maybe they'll just float this market up and continue to trend higher. But again, the higher we go, the more higher probabilities of these shorts playing out in the near term. Now, obviously, what is transpiring right now is the spiders are gapping up. The Qs are also gapping up. The Russell is slightly to the upside as well. Oil's creating a little bit of a pop, so WTI crude is up 1.5% today, but it hasn't taken out the highs it made yesterday. Actually, it just briefly took out the high from yesterday, but really it's still stuck in the same range. So basically the big level I'm still watching, you obviously have this upsloping wedge which we're approaching, but the bigger level that I am watching, let me just erase that and these lines over here. The big level I am watching on WTI crude is this level that we're into right now. We're bubbling up. Maybe it wants to touch the 200 daily moving average, but there's tons and tons of resistance up ahead here. Even if crude gets above that, you know, you have this upsloping trend line, which was a major breakdown, kind of a failed breakout over here, which sent crude lower. And you always have the daily 200 moving average. So again, tons and tons of resistance. We are still shorting XOM, which has caught a little bit of a bid. Basically, my average on XOM right now is 115. Let me just erase all this. It is 115.48, so we're slightly out of the money, but we have a 3-6 position. So a 3-6 position, we have still 3 more add entries if need be. Basically where I'm looking to add to the short if we push higher, around a 117 Pierce. So that's my next add level. Basically a 117 Pierce. And then a dollar higher from there, around 118. And then basically 118.70 is a big gap fill. Okay, so I'll just keep that on my daily chart. The double top on the gap fill on XOM is 118.27. The double top is 118.71. So if crude shows continued strength, likely will help the XOM push up a little bit more. So definitely keep that on the radar because it may just get a pop into the open. But it was interesting that we did see some heavy sell side pressure late in the session there. After they floated it up, they kind of ripped it back down in the last few minutes there. But we'll just have to see what transpires here. It is going to create a little bit of an open gap from this 116.13 area. So it's about a 30-cent or a 50-cent gap at the moment. Natural gas is under pressure this morning, but it's still trying to hold this key little double bottom zone, which you can see are getting a nice little reversal. A couple stocks on the radar. AMC is getting slaughtered today, so we're just going to go to the daily chart of AMC. AMC, I'm going to erase all these trend lines. They're old ones. So AMC is gapping down. At the lows, it was down, I think, 25%. Basically, the clear level is this double bottom, around 378. But the thing is that we actually pierced that in the pre-market. So that level is not as strong as it would have been if price action came down during the day, the regular trading hours, into that level. So AMC around double bottom, I'm actually going to let that pierce that level. The more conservative level, not saying it won't get a bounce at that 377 level or 378, but the more conservative level that I'm looking at is, especially if the markets start to soften up, is around the 339, 338 level. And then you have some additional support at 326. And then you have some additional support at 307. Okay, so those are kind of the levels. I like to maybe have this impulse gap filled to the upside. There should be decent support there because this was your major breakaway trend before AMC had that parabolic move to the upside. So keep that one on the radar. Really, there's nothing else that I'm seeing right now. That's just one of the big major movers. So we'll keep the energy trade on the radar and AMC on the radar, and we'll just take it from there. So flipping back to the SPYs, they are still gapping up. You're trading at 411.66, which is just above this pivot zone. Spiders have pulled off the pre-market highs. The pre-market high we actually hit 412.48, which is a big gap fill on the daily chart. So pre-market we actually filled that gap, so maybe we see it push up there and fill the regular trading hours. But if you look on the Spider daily, you actually came all the way up to, sorry, this Spider chart isn't showing it, but there's a gap fill on the Spiders that occurred at, let me just isolate it down here on my chart. Yeah, there's a gap fill that we hit at 412.37 in the pre-market, 412.37. I'm not too sure why it's not showing up on this chart. My Spider charts are slightly different. Right now, Apple's still up about 40 cents. Nvidia has pulled off of the highs. So Nvidia made a new intraday or a new pre-market high. It got all the way up to, let me just check here, 281.37. So I'll just mark that on my screen here. 281.37. So Nvidia was all the way up to here in the pre-market. That's pretty wild. And now it's come all the way back in. So that's a little interesting. Right now, in terms of the crypto space, Ethereum has caught a big bid. Bitcoin obviously has caught a little bit of a rally off of the lows. There are some tail candles forming right now, but Ethereum is probably the big winner. It's actually setting a new high in its trend. So Bitcoin set a new high, Ripple set a new high, Ethereum's finally playing catch up here and setting a new high. Now for Ethereum, obviously you can see that it's hitting that resistance trend line. That's really simple as that. If it gets through that, you have resistance at this pivot. We do have JOLTS data this morning around 10 a.m. We have JOLTS data coming out, so that could be market moving. JOLTS data measures the vacancies, basically accounting for the amount of job openings in the labor market. A higher than expected number is not good. Obviously, it's good for the economy, but it's typically not good for stocks. Again, a lower than expected number, it could go either way. I mean, it could show that maybe the labor market is weakening a little bit, which stocks could take positively because they certainly have been taking bad news as good news. But we're also getting very close to a scenario where stocks, I think, will react to bad news in the near term as bad news. But if the JOLTS number comes in higher than expected, which over the last 5 reports, the JOLTS data has come in higher than expected, which is showing that people just don't want to work. There's still a lot of job vacancies. And that's not what the Fed wants to see. The Fed wants to see the job market weaken, not where people are wanting to not work. Our AR long is working out nicely. That's catching a bid. So I still am optimistic that natural gas just needs to get out, flush out the rest of these longs that are finally capitulating here, because again, AR, which is a natural gas stock tied to the natural gas commodity, is showing good strength. I mean, when you look at AR, it's had a fantastic move off of the lows, and it's actually gapping up today. It's looking positive to continue to move higher. And usually the resource stocks like miners and gold lead the underlying commodity. But right now, nat gas is under pressure. Still seeing lots and lots of selling. Nvidia just went negative. So after Nvidia being up almost 1%, Nvidia just went negative. It's now down 0.2%. Microsoft also just went negative. So a couple heavyweight stocks there, showing a little bit of weakness in the near term. Gold is slightly positive on the session. The dollar is, let me just take a look here, just slightly flat, trying to catch a bid, but still very, very weak. So we're about 3 minutes to the open. Obviously XOM, AMC, those are really the ones on the radar, and we'll see if anything else comes to fruition here as the markets open. Oil has pulled off of the highs, so remember how we touched base on oil? That's had a nice little kind of a double top. Again, a little bit of a failure potentially happening. This is exactly what you want to see as a technical analysis, where the price action approaches the previous high, pierces it, and then gets rejected. And if you get an hourly close, if this forms like an hourly topping tail, kind of like it did here, then it likely means you should see oil at least, maybe not today, but at least trade back to the low range of the session. So XOM has responded. It's slightly pulled off of the highs. It was up to 116.60. So we may not even get a chance to add to that, but that's okay. All right, so we have a couple minutes now to the open. Keep AMC on the radar. That's trading at 411. Keep XOM, and then we'll see what other market movers there are. But Nvidia just went negative, down about 20 cents. And Microsoft also just went negative, about 20 cents. Tesla's positive. This earnings season is going to be very, very interesting. Very, very interesting. All right, we have 1 minute to the open. Okay, I'm just going to flip my charts. So the gap up is occurring. Will we lose that gap up? Dollar softened, the 2-year yield's at 4%. We have about 10 seconds here to the open. AMC is just, here we go, markets are open. Spiders obviously gapped up. I'm watching XOM, IWM's pushing up, spiders are still at the highs. Nvidia's pushing back up. Things are very slow right now. Tesla, Intel. AI is down 7%, so I tried shorting that with my members. Look at that gap down, but I couldn't get shares. Big gap down. Let me just see if there's a level on AI for a long trade. I'm going to go to a little bit of a larger term time frame. Oh, I mean, really the only level on, there is some support at this pivot, but conservative, aggressive traders will take the first pivot. I would look for a pierce of 29 myself, or a pierce of 30. Nvidia is starting to come down. AMC has caught a bid. Nvidia is now negative. But if AI was to come down and hit 29, around the 29.20 level, I'm going to put an alert there. I'll wait. We could have a long trade. Coinbase is acting well. Nvidia's coming down sharply, so are the spiders. Oil's coming in. XOM's coming in. The Qs are still acting well. Qs are still acting well. Microsoft's pushed up. Qs are at the highs of the day. VIX is creating a small little bid. Oil's coming in sharply now. Spiders are coming in a little bit heavier. IWM is getting rocked right now. Look at that rock. That's just a big reversal candle in the IWM. Nvidia's coming in sharp now. The Qs are finally coming in a little bit. Spiders still have not filled that gap yet. Spiders still have not filled the gap. XOM's pushing up despite oil weakening. A little bit of strength in China stocks, although BABA's coming down. First Solar's under some pressure today. Walmart's pushing up. Nvidia, big dump on Nvidia here. Big dump on Nvidia. Look at that. Keep our eye on the spiders here. So the VIX is catching a bit as well. Definitely keep AI on the radar. I'm still interested around a Pierce of 29 bucks. AMC's caught a big bid, down 13%. It was down 25%. AI's down 8. Amazon's just holding on. Apple's just holding on. Nvidia's negative. AMD's slightly positive. Wow, take a look at Zim. I think they might have just announced a dividend. Yep, that's why they're down. Huge dividend. Huge dividend. Gapping down 21%. That's crazy. Crazy. So Spider's catching a little bit of a bounce. Still weakness in Nvidia. Let's take a look at the SMH. SMH is also coming in sharper now. Let's take a look at XOM. XOM's just still hovering off our level. Oil's under a little bit of pressure. Keep the S&P on. S&P still has not filled the gap yet, but it's looking likely that it will, especially with Nvidia. Apple just went negative. AI's down 8% still. Watching that one closely for a potential long. Nvidia's at the lows. The VIX is starting to perk up. The VIX is starting to perk up. AMD just went negative. Microsoft just went negative. So Qs are coming down. Meta's still at the highs. Interesting to see. AI's coming in sharper. Markets are coming in sharper now. The Qs are coming in sharper. So AI is still coming down. Where I like AI for a long trade, what was that? 28.94. I like AI long at 28.94 just for a scalp. That's it. I'll watch it on my other screen in case it starts coming down some more. Nvidia is still at the lows, bringing the tech industry down. QQQs have almost filled the gap. Spiders are still hanging on there, acting well. JP Morgan, regional banks are at the lows. Large banks are at the lows. This stock has been halted. BFRG is open. Wow, look at this thing. Just keeps pushing up. I'm not going to get in front of this thing. This thing is probably a short at some point, but Bullfrog AI Holdings, another AI company. Seems like the tulip craze is back. I think it was just halted again. Oh, no, look at that. Big reversal. Ooh, nasty, nasty reversal. And this stock probably comes in pretty hard because when you look at Nvidia, that's getting hit pretty hard. The Qs are pushing back up though. XOM's trying to push back up. Spiders also trying to push back up. It's pretty resilient to see these markets just keep pushing up. If this BFRG, I just want to see the market cap on it. BFRG. That's I would not get in front of BFRG. It's only a 19.15 million market cap. I mean, this thing could go 6 times, 7 times and still be basically, if it went 10 times, it'd be 190 million market cap. So I would advise not trying to short that. Nvidia's at the lows. So despite the Qs pushing up and the spiders pushing up, take a look at the market leader Nvidia. It's getting hit pretty hard here. And I find this volume float yesterday was very, very, very peculiar. I mean, even if you look on the 50-minute chart, just so many green candles in a row. The last time we saw this was basically, if we go down here, you saw, I think it was around 220-ish, give or take. There was a really weird movement. Yeah, it was over here, where you had in the opposite just a complete sell, 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 sell. Then you had a complete grind, grind, grind. You see it actually better on the 10-minute chart, but it looks very reminiscent to what Nvidia could be going through yesterday and what could be happening today. So that's still coming down. Spiders are still holding up. The Qs are still fighting here. Apple's still fighting. Meta's still fighting. Big volume coming in on Meta. I think there's distribution occurring on Meta. 2 massive volume candles in the morning here. Massive. Massive, massive, massive. And what that's telling me is I think that there's a big player unloading into this near-term strength. Spiders, Russell's weak. Qs have almost filled the gap. Qs have almost filled the gap. Tesla's trying to hold on to its positive gains. Meta's actually acting very resilient here. XOM's coming down. Qs have almost filled the gap. Spiders too. Crazy swings. So Nvidia being at the high in pre-market around 281.30 is now trading at 276. But yesterday we also saw it go negative by a great degree, and then it just rallied back to the positive side. It was pretty crazy, all while the Qs were negative. But there's clear distribution happening. AI is still coming down. I'm still interested in a long trade on AI. It's not there yet though. Tesla's still holding on to its positive gains. Seeing the spiders come down some more. The dollar really hasn't responded yet. BX. Home builders are acting resilient. Financials like PNC are coming down still. Apple's starting to come down now. The Russell is certainly lagging. I mean, that's a big sell in the Russell. Basically almost negating that little light volume float late in the afternoon. Kind of like market makers were looking for exit liquidity here. Spiders just filled the gap. Spiders are coming down. Now in terms of a potential long trade on the spiders, you'll have some support at, just give me 1 second, Q's just filled the gap as well. Really the only buyable level that I see on the spiders is around a Pierce of 409. A Pierce of 409, basically this trend line here, and actually a little bit lower on my chart. The exact level I have is around 409.10, 409.10. So I'll just mark that level. But again, even buying these markets is tricky. You would need to see it coming down in the next basically 20 minutes. Oil seeing some weakness. Russell's at the lows. Bitcoin seeing some distribution. Las Vegas Sands, GE just made a new high, but it might be reversing. Still some strength in healthcare. Microsoft still holding on. Apple's negative. Nvidia's down 1.23. That AI stock is still trying to come down. Nat Gas is trying to catch a bid. Spiders are bouncing slightly here. Google's trying to hold on to some positive gains. Apple's still at the lows. Tesla's now basically gone negative. Almost negative. Yeah, but it's closing back under a key trend line. Nvidia's catching a bounce. Coin had a big rollover. After coin was up, gapped up, it had a big rollover, so that's good for our short trade. We're obviously short coin around 68.30. Basically pretty much at this high pivot we shorted. Check on our XOM trade here. XOM. And keep in mind in 17 minutes we still have the JOLTS data. JOLTS data is coming out. XOM's catching another bounce. Let me see if oil put in an hourly. Oil's potentially putting in an hourly topping tail here. That would be a nice one. That would be a really nice hourly topping tail to match with this reversal over here. Obviously there's 15 minutes left, but if we get an hourly topping tail, I think that's when we're going to see XOM come in a little bit sharper. Nvidia just made a new low. Apple made a new low. Spiders are selling off much harder now. Down about 0.08%. Qs are negative. Russell's negative. Banks are under a lot of pressure. So KBE, KRE, take a look at that. Still something's brewing in this banking sector. Still something is brewing. Now if the KBE flushed right back down into, say, this zone over here, this 35.90 appears to 36, we could actually play it for a long trade. Super high risk. I would not hold this overnight. KRE is catching a small bounce. Let's take a look at JP Morgan. That's coming down sharply. So JP Morgan's actually underperforming the market right now. A lot of red showing up on the screen, guys. A lot of red. And this is all while the dollar is actually also negative and weak. Let's take a look at the UVXY. That's had a nice move off the lows. Take a look at that. It's good to see. Spiders are catching a small bounce here. And again, the common theme we've been seeing is market makers using the morning liquidity to unload, and then they float it up in the afternoon, get new retail buyers to buy in, and then they snake people. Nvidia's almost about to touch the lows from yesterday. Kind of made this failed double top. There's a beautiful M top on Nvidia. that if it breaks yesterday's pivot low, I mean, you could actually see a move down to about 267. Not today. I mean, there's a potential, but most likely over the course of the next few days. But we've seen Nvidia reverse back and go to the highs once the initial sell side pressure is done. There's just a onslaught of buying pressure in Nvidia. Pretty much it seems that it's at all times. You had the Eurozone inflation come out today, and basically the year-over-year data did decrease, but the month-over-month actually spiked up, which caused the yields in Europe to go up a little bit, which is why we're seeing a little bit of weakness in the dollar. No trades as of yet. We're still just waiting on a few things. IWM is still showing the most relative weakness. Spiders are bouncing. And again, you really have to watch the Russell. The Russell basically is the real breadth of this market. And what I'm watching here on the Russell short term, you've broken this key trend. Now you've got a little bit of a retrace. We'll see if we can recapture. If you can recapture, you can float back up to the highs. If you fail, you're likely going to test this low, and then if you break that low, you could even come down to gap fill. We'll see what happens here. The dollar's acting very weak. Spiders are catching a small bounce. So is Nvidia. So is Apple. So is XOM. Microsoft's back to the positive side. Tesla's negative. GE is still holding up really well. KRE's at the lows. Still a lot of weakness in these banks. Big bounce occurring in the markets here. Regional banks are getting hit. Regional banks are getting hit. KRE is at the lows of the session. Banks are not enjoying some good price action here. Banks are certainly looking very vulnerable. This is not a healthy trend that is occurring in banks. It's pretty evident that you're making a series of lower highs here. Lower high, lower high, lower high. Now, could we also be forming an inverse head and shoulders with a left shoulder, a head, potentially a right shoulder? It's a little premature, maybe, but I doubt it. I doubt it. Let's keep a look at the spiders here. Spiders are trying to float back up. The Russell's still acting weak. Microsoft's pushing up. It's at the high of the day. Oil's still fighting a potential topping tail. So Nvidia is still down 1.2, FRC is down 4.9. Banks are still under a lot of pressure. Bank of America is down 1.2. So the banks are showing a great amount of relative weakness in this market. Something's not right as well. The way the yields, the 2-year yield is coming down sharply. Something doesn't seem right today. We obviously had Jamie Dimon come out and say that the banking contagion crisis is not over with, that it's going to affect all banks. Maybe he gave a market a little bit of a warning today. Maybe we see something blow up this week. Oil's still putting in a potential topping tail. It's good to see XOM was actually putting in inside bar here, bearish consolidation. Now obviously the major pattern is consolidating constructively, but being the fact that you broke out above this pivot high and then you had a big crash back down, this is now short-term inside bar bearish consolidation occurring. And then when you look at oil, oil's still coming down. KRE's at the dead lows. Russell's broken. Oh my goodness, this market's probably going to sell off more. I don't think that people are going to be rotating capital into the mega caps. XOM just made a new intraday low. That's good to see. Because the mega caps are so extended, if we see more crisis in the small caps and the regional banks, that's going to be detrimental to the market, because I don't know who would be buying mega caps up here. I really don't. And that's what the kind of the catch-22 is all the mega caps and stocks are so extended that that same old trade of fleeing into the mega caps is kind of really overdone to the upside. If you're buying mega caps up here thinking that they're safe from a banking crisis, you're going to have a rude awakening. As of now, Microsoft is making a new high, blistering higher. Look at this KRE. Holy. It is getting slaughtered. Slaughtered. Bust through this support. Next major support's at 41.95. It's down 1.72. Let's take a look at our PNC short. We are shorting this bank. Nice to see that getting slaughtered as well. I'm going to keep watching the Russell, because the Russell's full of banks. We have jolts coming out in 7 minutes. Spiders are still holding up. Microsoft's still at the highs. Qs are getting a bounce because of Microsoft. Nvidia's down 1.2. AI's down 9.33, catching a bounce. Tesla's trying to catch a bid. Apple's negative. So really the big standout winner today, Mr. Softy, making new highs. Wow. We actually may have a short trade on Microsoft here. Just give me 1 second. Yes, I do like Microsoft at 290. At 290 Pierce, we short Microsoft. So get ready on Microsoft at 290. XOM just made a new low. I'm going to do a 1/4 position on Microsoft. A 1/4 position. So a little bit heavier, more concentrated. We're almost at 290. Oil's putting in an hourly. XOM's coming in sharper now. XOM, we're almost in the money on that. Let that one fall a little bit more. Keep Microsoft on the radar. 290 short on Microsoft. Let's see if we can get this going. Russell, banks are still at the lows. Oh, they're teasing us. They're teasing us. Ooh, look at this hard sell in XOM. Coming in a bit more now. Microsoft is now pulling off of the highs. So that Microsoft trade is now off for the books. It's pulling in sharply. So unfortunately it didn't hit our 290 level. That's okay. We just continue to watch things here. I want to watch that Russell because that's the banking indice. Spiders are holding up. Alright, Microsoft's pushing back up here, so the trade is actually still valid because this could be potentially still closing as a green candle. So just keep Microsoft still on the radar. But we really want to see this candle close green in the next 3 minutes. If it closes red, trades off the table. I would have to look a bit higher. Bitcoin's selling off now. I'm still interested in AI for a long trade. That one had a big bounce. I'm still interested in this 28.94 level. This one I would do a 1/6 position. Spiders are bouncing. Oof. Big drop on Valero. CXLE. Notice how XLE is at the low of its trend here. And then you look at XOM, it's not at the low. So definitely relative strength in XOM for now. 1 minute till the JOLTS data. 1 minute till JOLTS data. Apple's pushing up, so is Nvidia. The Qs are pushing up. Qs are getting a big rally here. Big rally. Banks are at the lows, so you're still seeing that money flowing out of the banks into the tech space. As if tech is the defensive sector. So we'll see how the dollar and the yields react to the JOLTS data in 50 seconds. KRE still at the dead lows. If we get a drop quickly, AI might come in sharply. KRE made a new low. Tesla's trying to hold up. I do like Tesla for a long at a Pierce of 190. Pierce of 190. So keep that on the radar. JOLTS data in 7 seconds. We will have it here first. Factory orders were missed. Spiders pushing up. Big reversal though. Big little fake out. The forecast was 0.5. It came in worse. The factory orders. We're still waiting on the JOLTS data. That's the real market moving one. Yields are collapsing though. So are we now in a scenario where the market does take bad news as bad news? The 2-year yield gap down substantially. Apple's pushing up. Gold is pushing up. Microsoft's pushing up. Q's just made a huge new high. Wow. The yields are dropping sharply here. 2-year yield is dropping sharply. Still waiting on that JOLTS number. But it's likely could be very bad. Look at this move on the Qs. Holy. Qs are taking this as a huge, huge surge. How long does this last though? So the job openings fell. So that's a bad, bad number. That's finally showing that the vacancies are not as strong as they once were. And the markets are rejoicing over that because they think the Fed is going to pivot. I don't think so. But for now, markets are rejoicing and screaming higher, specifically tech on those lower yields. Tech just filled its gap from 2 days ago. The Dixie's dropping sharply here. But again, we're now in a scenario where I think the markets are going to be close to taking bad news as bad news. They might have a 1 or 2 day rally or a week rally, but once the market clues in that yields are dropping because of a recession, that's where you really get in a dangerous scenario for stocks. AI is dropping sharply. I still like this one for a long trade. It's coming up. It's about $1 away. So realistically, the big move in the indices came from only mega cap. Nvidia, Apple, Microsoft, Google, because you look at some of these other smaller names and they're getting demolished. But that is not a good sign. That's the economy weakening, the labor market's starting to weaken. So again, I think this little pop is very, very short-lived, because once the markets price in the fact that yields are dropping because of a weakening economy, a weakening labor market, most likely higher employment, that's when the economy starts to fall off a cliff. And just because you think the Fed is going to pivot, because jobs, we got one little bad JOLTS number, you still have inflation soaring much, much higher. XOM, we're almost in the money now, so that's coming in nicely. Basically flat on the trade. I want more though. I want a lot of profit on this XOM. You know, I think we can at least get a move down to this previous pivot over here. But now the spiders are reacting. So is that just a little bit of an initial liquidity pop by the dippers thinking, oh, yields are falling, dollars falling, finally got a bad jobs number? But I'm telling you, once institutions and the big players react to a recession, stocks are going to get slaughtered. Especially when you factor in how overbought, not even on a technical basis. If you're a fundamental analyst, when you're looking at some of these price to sales, price to earnings of Apple, Microsoft, Nvidia, it is just crazy. You factor in Tesla's bad little report yesterday, the fact that they've had massive historical price cuts across the board in their vehicles, and they just beat their little bit of a guidance there yesterday. That's just horrific. Spiders are potentially putting in a 10-minute tail, just like the Qs here. So the Qs are still trying to hold the positive gains. Home builders are acting well still, holding up. The financials are still under a lot of pressure this morning. Nvidia is starting to creep back up. Qs are also starting to creep back up. Two-year yields now trading under 4%. Gold is surging. Meta's at the highs of the session. Take a look at AI. That's coming in sharper now. I still like AI for a potential long at 28.94. It's high risk. It is high risk, especially if the markets start to weaken. This stock is showing a lot of relative weakness. You are hitting some support now, but keep AI on on the chart for a little bit of a long trade here. It is approaching quickly. Spiders are trying to push back up. Dollar's still softening substantially, so are the yields. We haven't really seen the markets respond to... They are responding to the yields, but again, at what point will the market start pricing in a recession and a weakening labor market? That's where the bigger downside starts to come in. As of now, tech is still rejoicing with these lowering in yields and dollar, but how long will that last? That's the big question. Gold is at 2,000, trying to break out here. Wow. Gold is acting very well here. 2006 on gold. We'll see if gold can make a surge higher. Regional banks are still at the lows. So notice how regional banks are super sensitive to interest rates and yields, and even with the yields collapsing lower, regional banks really didn't catch a bid. They're actually coming in more now. Even if you look at the larger banks, KBE, they caught a little bit of a bid, but coming in lower now. Let's take a look at XLF, so the mega banks. They caught a little bit of bid, but also starting to come down. So AI is almost at our level. You can see there's some buyers coming in right now. Gold is surging, trying to break out of the highs. Gold is trying to make a new high here. Gold just made a new high, 2010. From its little consolidation. I shouldn't say it's a new yearly high. It's a new year-to-date high, but 2022 high was at 2070. Oil's coming in, regional banks new low. Wow, yields are collapsing sharper here. For now, tech is rejoicing. But again, all of the leading data shows we are slipping into a big recession here. The 2-year yield is collapsing. Now down to 3.87. It's down a few percent on the session. So 1/6 position on AI. That is coming down. Get ready. It's hitting some support now. I wanted to break that $29 range. Microsoft still trading exceptionally well. Some buyers are coming in. Regional banks are still coming down. I'll let you know if I take the fill on AI. It's super high risk, because if the markets start to break down as well, then we don't have really any relative strength to help us on this trade. It's an aggressive level. The 7 daily moving average is around 2860. So I'm just going to see if we can get a pierce of that level. Come on, we're almost there. 1/6 position. Buyers are starting to step up here. Oh my goodness. Wow. 10-cent miss so far. Could keep coming back down. Level still technically intact. It appears they're trying to bounce it 10 cents before our level. The Russell's catching a small bounce. Spiders are now coming down. So this is where it's dangerous to go long the stock, especially if the markets come down. Wow, Intel is a huge mover. I actually do like Intel for a short up here. But there's a gap fill that it might want to be approaching to. AI is just teetering on our level. I mean, it came down. It was still 10 cents off our level. Qs are pushing up. Microsoft's pushing up. So Intel's a really strong semi right now. Really strong. Where I'd accumulate a short is at a Pierce of 34. An even number. And you do have a gap fill around 34.47. AI caught a nice bounce, so that trade is pretty much off the table as long as you get a green close in the next 2 minutes. That's unfortunate. Missed it by 10 cents. Microsoft's continuing to push higher. Oil's coming down a little bit more now. I do like Microsoft for a short trade around $291.98, and then you have an additional resistance at $294. Russell's coming down sharper now. Russell just had a nice sell. Look at the banks. Something's looming in this banking crisis here. Something is going to come to our attention probably in the near term here. With yields collapsing this sharply and you still have banks getting slaughtered, something nasty's brewing, guys. Spiders are still holding on to gains. Qs are still holding into gains. That's probably just due to Microsoft, Nvidia catching a big bounce. Gold, 2014 bucks. It is surging higher. Dollars getting slaughtered, which is why gold is surging. AI is coming back down now. It's pierced that level. Sorry, I wasn't really paying attention to that. Now I would have to see it go a little bit lower. Shit. I literally flipped off the screen and it flipped on me in the blink of an eye. It did hit that level. It actually made a low here at 28.86. Wow. Can't believe I turned my back for a minute and AI comes back down and hits our level. Jesus. And now it's getting a small bounce. This is the life of trading sometimes. Sometimes it'll, you turn your face away for a split second, comes back down, hits your level, and you miss the trade. And that's totally on me. Look at that bounce. That's totally on me. Hit our level perfectly. Shit. Alright, that's off. Next trade. Can't dwell on them. Gotta move along. Gotta move along. Nvidia's still trying to push. Dollars coming in. Dollars should be hitting some near-term support around 101.55. It's another 10 cents low on the dollar. Jesus, AI got a nice bounce. Oil seeing some continued weakness. Russell's at the lows, KRE's at the lows. So the next tradable level on AI, you can see how there's just sellers being present. 27, let me just isolate that down better. 27.55. 27.55. I have another technical level to go long AI. Okay, but now the markets seem to be wanting to break lower. The Russell's leading the lowering, making a new low. The Qs have a potential reversal from the highs here. There is a 10-minute topping till that will be forming in a minute and 30 seconds. So we'll pay attention to that. And almost it looks like you may have a failed double top breakout, kind of like what oil just did, where oil's continuing to come back down. XOM's holding up because the SPY caught a bit of a bid, but it's still starting to trickle down lower. Qs are trying to fight back still. AMD, Intel. I'm still interested in Intel at a short at 34 bucks. Pierce of 34 bucks. Look at AI now. It's coming right back down again. Take a look at XOM, big reversal. Qs are putting in that reversal signal as well. So are the spiders. And then the Russell. Russell's just dumping. The Russell is looking sick. The regional banks are looking much sicker. Literally looking like they're on their deathbed. Take a look at JPM. Oof, JPM also underperforming the market. Let's take a look at Bank of America. Oof, nasty. Citi. Also underperforming the market. Let's take a look at Wells Fargo. These banks are sick. These banks are sick. Let's keep the spiders in there. Oil's seeing some big downside now too. Spiders are coming in much sharper. The spiders have gone negative. Spiders have gone negative. AI is still approaching my next level. AI is dropping like a rock. Spiders are seeing some more heavier sell side pressure. Nvidia created an inside bar bear flag. If that breaks, we're looking at a move down to about 272.88 today. So a pierce of 273. XOM, we're now in the money nicely. Take a look at that. The oil's collapsing much sharper now. Spiders are still under pressure. Russell new lows, spider new lows. Look at this Russell. Oh, this Russell is crazy. Oil's continuing to fall. Gold's continuing to hold up. Banks new lows, Russell new lows. Jesus, this could get nasty. Tesla's negative, Nvidia's still negative, Microsoft's trying to hold up but put in a 10-minute topping tail. The QQQ's put in a nice little intraday high reversal. Spiders may have an hourly reversal candle which closes in 8 minutes. And again, this is now all occurring on yields falling, the dollar falling. Intel's still holding up. That's very surprising on Intel. I'm actually very impressed that Intel's holding up as well as it is. Russell new low, regional banks new low. That's probably going to be the common theme that you hear from me today. Whew. Wow, AI is collapsing now. Nvidia's under a lot of pressure as well. Jamie Dimon gave a warning today. It's craziness. These banks are getting taken to the woodshed. And again, if anyone understands how the basic economy works, with regional banks supplying a great deal of credit to the overall economy, if regional banks get demolished and slaughtered, that is going to have a ricochet on the overall growth of the worldwide economy, because these regional banks have such a great deal of amount of credit creation and impact on the overall monetary supply that if they start tightening their lending standards, if they start having to protect their books, liquidate assets, this is where you will see a nasty downturn in the markets. There's nothing worse than a credit crisis, which is what I believe we're heading into, if not already in. Wow, spiders are extra weak right now. Take a look at that AI chart. And again, I tried shorting this with my members, even put in the chat, but what did I say? I couldn't get shares. There were no shares available to short. And look at this move down. 2 days ago, we would have been about over double-digit gain in the money. And those are the little indications as a trader when you try to grab shares and they're not available to short. What is that telling you? Big boys have taken them all for themselves, and they're waiting for this drop to come down. Look at this drop, 16% in 1 day. I mean, just a massive pump to the upside, getting people roped in, sucked in off this technical breakout, and then they rip it back down on people. Now there is a level coming up here, this 27.55. I do like it for a long. Apple just announced they're eliminating corporate retail jobs. Intel's now finally coming in. So that one's off the radar. Coinbase new low of day. XOM is at a good cover level here if you're wanting to take profits. I'm gonna see if I can ride this a little bit lower. One of the reasons why is I'm seeing oil forming a beautiful potential daily topping tail. That's a nice topping tail in oil right now. Let's take a look at the USO volume. That one's coming in. That's a nice hard reversal as well. So I'm going to hold, because if I see more weakness in oil, that should mean that XOM goes lower. And right now oil is under a lot of pressure. So I do think XOM will see more downside. Obviously it's going to take the market to move lower, but again, with oil falling sharply now, it should see more downside. Spiders are catching a small bounce here though. Remember, we still have three major gaps to the upside just off of this little trend, Plus you have some massive big ones to the downside that should be filled. IWM caught a bounce. AI is still coming down, so that level is still valid on AI. This level is still valid on AI. High risk, I'm going to do a 1/6, but this stock is coming down sharper. Qs are bouncing, oil still trading at the lows. Just going to remove some of these now. These trend lines just to clear things up. Let's look at the daily chart of this. So notice how you friggin' sliced back through this. But that's a big, big drop on AI. Gold's taking a breather, stopped at around 2026. It's a pretty good move for gold. Oh, there were a couple other stocks I wanted to just watch here. Trading capital. Let's take a look at EPR. It's also under a lot of pressure. SPY is catching a bid now. QQQs are bouncing. Russell's still coming down. Gold's trying to make another run up. Nat gas is still under pressure. Spider volume today is still really light. So that does favor a float to the upside, but with regional banks showing so much weakness, I mean, it's very concerning, especially in this light volume environment. There might be a long trade on Valero if it comes back down to 127.86, basically a pierce of 128. Maybe a long on Valero. So I'll watch that one closely. There might be a long trade at 128 or a pierce of 128. KRE at the lows. Yeah, bank stocks are exceptionally weak today. Wow. JP Morgan at the lows, KBE at the lows, KRE at the lows. Baidu's coming in. Oil's catching a small bounce. Dollar's hitting some support now, but still so weak. Approaching the 10:30 time frame now. Things are kind of slowing down, quieting down. I still think that AI level is valid, but it's catching a small bounce now. So I still think it's valid. KRE making new lows still. Qs are trying to catch a bid along with the S&P. You have volatility up 2.13. Nvidia is bouncing. So keep AI on the radar. Spiders are bouncing. Qs are bouncing as well. Oil's bouncing, which is probably going to bounce XOM. Nvidia is catching a nice bid, so is Apple. Apple's pretty much near the highs of the chart. Still positive on today's session. The S&P is also trying to grind back to the positive side. The NASDAQ is positive. Russell's negative. So the Russell's the big loser today. So Amazon just announced another round of job cuts. It's probably responding well to that announcement. And yep, got a nice little bounce. Amazon's actually outperforming the market. Spiders have had a nice bounce off the lows. Now this is where the light volume could come into play again. We've seen it. These 0DTEs really push this market up in the afternoon. The volume today is ridiculously light. Volatility is creeping lower now. Nvidia is trying to go positive. Spiders are trying to hold up here. Markets are still trying to bounce. Dollar's at the low, 101.52. You are hitting that downsloping trend line where the dollar broke out of last time. But it's looking likely that the dollar is going to go to double bottom. I'm still watching AI. It's coming back down. Nvidia's pushed back up. Tesla's still remaining very, very weak. Microsoft's catching a nice bid. Nvidia's pushing back up now. Spiders are catching another bid. Let's take a look at this Valero. It's down over 6.93%. Still keeps coming. I'll keep watching that. The IWM is still looking very, very weak here, so this could drag the market down. JP Morgan's still lagging the market. Ooh, look at Caterpillar. Wow. When you see stocks like this, the industrials, they're responding to the negative. They're definitely responding to the negative data that we received. Caterpillar at this gap fill might be a potential long. Around 220, or the actual gap fill is 220.16. So I'll keep Caterpillar on the radar for a long trade. That one's getting demolished, and it really hasn't had a bounce with the market. So I find that very intriguing. So I'll watch that on my other screen here. IWM is still under pressure. Guys, AI is coming back down. AI is coming back down. Spiders are coming back down. So it's approaching that level right now. Alright, I just picked up some AI here. I'll let you know if I get filled. I didn't get filled. Oh my goodness. My broker. I'm going to kill them. Might come back down. But look at that. It hit our level exactly to a penny. It could come back down though. Alright, I just got filled on AI. 1/6 position. 27.53. 27.53. $27.53. We're going to look for about 30 to 50 cents. Alright, AI is still acting very, very weak here. Next level is at that. There's a gap fill around 26 bucks. But it should have a bounce before that. This is a pretty decent level on AI. Next ad level is 26.75. Caterpillar's still coming down. Spiders are still under a little bit of pressure. Russell's trying to test the lows. Still watching that Valero. That's still coming down. Yellow. Basically at 128, I like Valero. But we're long AI right now. That one's still coming down. 1/6 position. Markets are starting to break lower, so it's not helping AI. Caterpillar's approaching. Tesla just made a new low. Banks made a new low. Russell made a new low. AI is starting to perk back up a little bit here. Spiders just are breaking lower. Valero's still under pressure. Caterpillar I'm still watching. A lot of these important names are showing exceptional weakness. Russell new low. Banks new low. Spiders testing. They just made a new intraday low. So markets are breaking lower. Nat gas is pushing up. So next ad level is at 26.75 and then 26 bucks. If you want to be more conservative, you can skip the 26.75 level and add right at this mega gap fill, but I'm going to add here. I'm going to pick up a little bit more here because we just see some buying pressure coming in. And the volume is lightening up. So that may help us. That may help us. Yields are still coming down. The VIX is shooting up. New high of day. Russell, new low of day. Banks, new low of day. Let's see what action comes in here. Financials are still lagging this market tremendously. Russell new low. Small caps are getting slaughtered. Alright, AI is coming back down again. So I'm looking for about 30 cents on this trade. 30 cents on this trade. 30 to 50 cents I think is definitely manageable. But keep the shares light. Weak market, low volume. Stock's already down 19%. Definitely buyers coming in here on AI. That's good to see. It's good to see, especially since the spiders and the Russell's still trickling lower. Qs are also trying to trickle. Alright, we're testing the lows again. We're coming down here. Spiders are fighting the lows. I haven't added yet on AI. It might be a quick snap of the price action lower. But there's definitely buyers here waiting on AI. Caterpillar is also coming down. I am interested in a long on Caterpillar. It's not at the level yet, but it's getting very, very close. Very, very close. Valero's just off of our level. Some buyers are starting to come in there. My level's around 28.06. Spider's new low. Spider's new low. Nvidia's starting to see some more selling. QQQs are seeing some more selling. Russell's getting slaughtered. Wow. Spiders are making a new low as well. Alright, I'm going to add to AI here at 26.75. Wait for it to hit that level or pierce. Caterpillar's still coming down. I'm watching that closely. There's definitely buyers here though. Doesn't mean that it can't come lower, but at least there are buyers stepping up in this vicinity. We're not alone on the trade. Slightly out of the money. That's okay. We have a tiny position right now. Caterpillar's about 80 cents away from the level. So keep Caterpillar on the radar. I do like that one. That one's getting slaughtered. Spiders are catching a small bounce. AI is still just hovering here. 1-6 position. Q's got a nice bounce. Regional banks are at the lows. Alright, so a little bit of a doji candle. 5-minute doji on AI. 5-minute doji on AI. Alright, markets are bouncing here. Spiders, Qs are bouncing. Russell's still trading near the lows, but coming into some first level of support, kind of its breakout zone. The IWM is testing the breakout. It just got a small bounce, but it's testing the breakout. All right, AI just hit that level. I just got filled at 2673. 2673. So it's a 2-6 position. I'll let you know my average in a second here. Just bear with me. 2711. 2711. 2-6 position. So we're just slowly accumulating. I got filled at 2673. Basically there. Spiders are testing the lows again. Caterpillar, Valero's all coming back down. Next ad level on AI is this 26. Take a look at the spiders. Breaking lower. Take a look at the IWM. Also testing the lows. Alright, AI is catching a bounce there, guys. AI is catching a bounce. AI is catching a nice little bounce here. Alright, AI is putting in a potential bottoming tail here. Here we go, guys. Here we go. AI is bouncing. I'm still watching Cat and Valero. We're flat on the trade on AI. It's fighting this doji candle. Caterpillar's coming down. So I'm watching many stocks here. Alright, Caterpillar's coming to the level, guys. So Caterpillar, keep Caterpillar on the radar. I'm going to have to flip to the screen. I'm watching AI on the other screen here. Caterpillar's almost at that gap fill. Look for a sell, basically about 20 cents on AI. Or sorry, 30 to 50 cents on AI. I'm still in it. I'm not going to sell yet. I am liking Caterpillar and Valero. They are coming down now sharper. At least AI is trying to bounce here. Caterpillar's the next target. Get ready on Caterpillar. Buyers are still trying to step up for Caterpillar. I'm looking at Valero and AI. VLO's still coming down. I like it at around 128, 128.06. So kind of in this little vicinity here. There's two little areas. I'll let you know if I take a trade. We're still obviously managing AI. It's a 2-6 position. Next ad level's at that gap fill 26. It's good to see that even though the markets are weak, AI is still defending. We've got two other trade setups coming in. Look at XOM. That's nicely in the money. That one's coming in. Big reversal there. Ooh, AI just took a little bit of a dump, but still trying to defend that little level. Valero and Cat are coming in, guys. Valero and Cat are coming in sharper now. AI is testing the lows. Markets are looking very vulnerable here. Oil just made a new low. Russell made a new low. Banks made a new low. Something is lurking. AI just made a new low. Caterpillar's coming up. KRE is just getting slaughtered. So is the Russell. So definitely heavy sell candles. Look at Cat. It's just missing our level. That's too bad. Valero's also just missing our level. AI doesn't mean it can't come down. AI is also seeing so much sell side pressure. AI is now down 21% on the session. That's incredible. Valero's still trickling lower. Still got my eye on that. I've even got my eye on Tesla for long. I'm watching this. When it gets to 190, that's when you want to pay attention. Small bounce coming in the markets here. So everything pretty much looks like a market trade right about now. Valero's still trickling lower to our level. I do like that one. It's coming lower now. Spiders are still under a lot of pressure. A lot of pressure. Nvidia's bearishly consolidating. Nat Gas is catching a bid. Let's see if AI can get its butt up there. You do have declining volume on the sell side over the last two candles, so that should be positive. So notice how the last three 5-minute candles have been declining in sell side pressure. So it shows that the seller is starting to abate. Doesn't mean it can't go lower, but it's starting to slightly abate. Oof, a little bit of a down candle there. Maybe it wants that gap fill at 26. CAT has bounced. Valero's still trickling lower. So CAT is pretty much off the table. I mean, unless it shoots down there in the next 5 to 10 minutes. Because that's bouncing right before our level. Valero's still intriguing. It's catching a small little bid now. Almost hit our level. It missed it by like a, by 7 cents here. Volume in the market is still very, very light. I'll let you know if I get filled on Valero. I'm watching that one closely because that's still probably the next best setup. The gold is softening. Dollar's catching a little bit of a micro bid. Nothing crazy here. Alright guys, Valero's coming up close here. Get ready on Valero. We're about 10 cents away. 10 cents away on Valero. It's catching a small bounce now. Along with the markets, the whole market's catching a bounce. AI is still under a lot of pressure right now. A lot of pressure right now. Valero's about 24 cents away. Nvidia's starting to perk back up. The Qs are catching a bounce. The spiders are catching a bounce. And so is the Russell. Oil's still under a lot of pressure. So it's good to see on XOM. Caterpillar and Valero are now both bouncing. So that's unfortunate. Tesla's bouncing. The whole market is pretty much catching a little bit of a bid here. Question is, will it last? The volume profile does favor the bounce to last. But really, the mega caps are still holding this market up. Caterpillar big bounce, Valero big bounce. So a lot of these stocks caught a big bounce off the lows. I'd still consider them, but with the market bouncing, it's likely they're not going to come back down to those levels, at least for a day trade. It's approaching that 11 a.m. time frame. I'll still stay on the radar here just because we're in this AI trade. But I'm not liking the fact that AI is not bouncing as much as the rest of the market is. That's a little bit of relative weakness. Now you are seeing buying, but we really need to see a big move up. AI is starting to perk up now a little bit. Can we get some follow through? That's the big question. There's just so much selling. The spiders are weakening now, so that's kind of making it difficult. So AI is creeping up now, guys. Nice little bounce coming in AI. Come on, let's see if we can get a bigger push. AI is pushing. Here we go. Maybe a little bit of a 10-minute reversal coming in. Spiders are still acting weak. Alright guys, I'm exiting AI here just for a small gain because I'm seeing the spiders weaken. 27, sorry, I got filled at 27.20 through 27.22. That is a gain for us. Could it go higher? Yes, it could. It's so oversold, but I'm seeing the spiders sucking back down here. So that's why I sold. Look at that reversal in the spiders. I do not like that heavy reversal in the spiders. So we got out of that trade with a small gain at 27.22. Basically, it's an 11-cent gain per a 3-6 position here. So it's still a nice little gain for us. So spiders are selling off big time here. Spiders are selling off big time. So it's a small little profit in our pocket, but a win is a win. A win is a win. So I didn't like how the spiders just rolled over there along with the Qs. That's one of the reasons I got out of that trade a little bit sooner than our target, but we still won. AI is still actually holding up well despite the spiders and the Qs. Now, what we could have here is a little bit of a head and shoulders pattern, which is on the precipice of triggering. Intraday, shoulder, head, right shoulder, downside, that's a 321.60 all the way down to about 319, so that's two, you know, it's a couple, I mean, it hasn't triggered yet, but it could be a sharp move down to about 318.65. 318.65, this pivot. If you trigger this pattern on the Qs. You haven't triggered it yet, but you're very, very close to doing so. Actually, I'm still interested in Caterpillar. Caterpillar's coming back down. Keep Caterpillar on the radar. I do like Caterpillar for a long. The regional banks making new lows. So are the Russell, and so is the spiders trying to test the lows. Come on, Caterpillar. Go down a little bit here, and then we can go long on Cat. AI is still holding up actually really well. Alright, since we just did the one trade today, I'm actually going to call this stream to an end. Basically, it's very interesting to see these markets declining in light volume. If the volume picks up and the selling continues, then that's going to That's going to be dangerous for this market. Spiders are on the near precipice of breaking a key trend line as well, which I'll show you here. This is the level I'm watching on the spiders. And you can see we're testing that now. So if you lose this level on the spiders, you could see a lot more selling because this has kind of created a little bit of an M-top pattern. If you were to draw this out, you can see you have a little bit of an M-top. That's typically very bearish. That's very, very bearish topping formation. And that was a good little exit on our AI. Why? Because that thing's coming right back down. So we threaded the needle, and this is Education 101 with trading capital. We were in the money. It popped up. I saw the markets breaking down. I quickly sold just for a small gain. Did it go to our upside target? No, but you have to be able to adjust and pivot on the fly. Now, could AI continue to float up? It absolutely could because it is oversold, but everything is pretty much a market trade right now. And with the spiders triggering this M-top formation, with the Qs triggering the head and shoulders formation, it leaves it vulnerable to much, much more downside. Your next big support on the Qs and where that little topping formation takes you is down to here. So I'm going to call the stream to an end because things, we have gone a little bit over the time slot. But on that note, congrats on the one little win that we got. Obviously, Caterpillar Valero is still validated, but I won't be here to guide you through this trade. I'm still interested at 220 on CAT, 220.16, and I'm still interested at Valero at around 128. So on that note, I'm going to bid you farewell, and we'll call this stream to an end. And just be very careful about the markets breaking these key levels, which likely sends the stocks much, much lower. On that note, thank you all for tuning in, and we'll see you on the charts tomorrow.